My father, Jose, has cystic fibrosis. This is a disease of the lungs that makes it really hard to breathe. In most cases, the disease is fatal unless the patient receives a lung transplant. Let me take you back to when I was 12 years old and at the doctor with my dad for the first time. Dr. Garcia walks into the exam room. She listens to my dad's hearts and lungs, reviews some test results, asks some basic questions, pretty standard doctor's appointment routine. She concludes by saying that my dad should start a new prescription. My 12-year-old self used this as the end of the appointment, so I reach for my jacket. But my dad stays put. He says, "What is this medication? What led you to prescribe this medication? What are the side effects? What are the alternatives?" My younger self was shocked. I was confused, maybe even a little bit embarrassed. Why was he questioning his doctor? Dr. Garcia clearly knows best. My dad's an engineer, so he's used to always being right. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know as much about the world of medicine. So why was he being so rude? To my surprise, Dr. Garcia remained unfazed, and she answered every single question. We left the doctor's appointment more knowledgeable than when we walked in. But equally as importantly, we felt more bought in to my dad's treatment plan moving forward. That day, my dad taught me the importance of asking your doctors questions. Little did I know, this would actually save his life years later. As my dad did, we all need to bring our innate curiosity to our doctor's appointments. We cannot defer to that white coat. By asking questions, we can gather the relevant information and step into the driver's seat of our healthcare journey. Today, nearly 20% of Americans do not ask their doctor a single question. Other studies show that 40% of patients are afraid to speak up. This is especially true for women, younger people, and those with lower health literacy. Are you part of the 40%? I was. As a Latina, I was fearful to speak up in front of my doctor. I mean, you saw how my 12-year-old self reacted when my dad did so. The fear of the white coat is real. That fear partially stems from biases and inequities that exist in our healthcare system. Clinical trials and research aren't representative of minorities. Women's pain is often ignored, and doctors don't always look like their patients. I want to be clear, though. I'm not here to say, don't trust your doctor. What I want to say is that doctors have their own opinions and biases, so it's even more important that you don't sit idly by. Don't let somebody else sit in your driver's seat. Take the wheel today by starting to ask your doctors questions. At this point, some of you may be thinking, I already asked my doctor questions. I guess I can just ignore her for the next few minutes. But I push you to think, are you being purposeful with the questions you're asking your doctor? 75% of patients leave their doctor's appointments confused. So that makes me think, are we asking the right questions? We all prepare ahead of our business meetings, so why don't we prepare ahead of our doctor's appointments? Why don't we give our health the same importance as our career? So next time you find yourself at your doctor, I urge you to write your questions down. And I mean literally write them down. Get some pen and paper or use your phone. You can even use the time in the waiting room. I mean, you're just sitting there. Once you enter that exam room, you may be feeling rushed by your doctor. They're on time constraints. But doctors do want to answer your questions. If you prepare ahead of time, you can remain efficient with those 10 to 15 minutes and ask the questions that matter to you. As you stare at that blank piece of paper, you may be thinking, what do I ask my doctor? What is a good question? Maybe you're feeling a little bit of writer's block. In that instance, think of CARE, C-A-R-E. This is a convenient acronym of the 4 key questions you should ask your doctor. C stands for clarify. You have a right to understand what your doctor is saying. If you don't, simply ask. A, for alternatives. What other options are out there for me? Make sure they work for your goals and needs. R, rationale. What was this doctor recommending and why? And lastly, E, effects. What are the side effects? Are you okay with that risk? As you sit and use CARE, I give you one word of caution. Make sure your intent behind your questions is true curiosity and not interrogation. At the end of the day, the doctor has a medical degree. Don't try to test them. Be curious, but don't be disrespectful. At this point, there's probably some of you out there that are thinking, I haven't been to the doctor in a few years. I'm in full health. Well, I'll reprimand you later for not going to your annual physical. And I'm also sorry to tell you, Bert, you're not getting any younger. We all have aging parents, or many of us may have kids in the coming years. So it's even more important you take the wheel of their health. By preparing, using CARE, and being curious, you'll be ready before you or someone you love has a health crisis. This is what happened to my family. My dad's health plummeted, and he needed a lung transplant, but the doctors wouldn't approve him. So what did my family do? We asked a lot of questions. Why is Jose not on the list? What does Jose need to do to get on the list? Through these questions, we learned that my dad needed to walk to prove that he was healthy enough to survive the lung transplant process. You may be thinking, he just needed to walk? Well, it's as if I asked you all to get up right now and go run a marathon. But my dad, he mustered up the strength and he walked. He walked down the hospital hall with 8 tubes and cables out of him. He walked with an army of nurses and doctors holding the cables and all that machinery. He walked while on 2 forms of life support. He got on the list, and 48 hours later, he had new lungs. He just celebrated his 6-year anniversary and is in full health. Questions make a difference. By preparing, using CARE, and leaning into that curiosity, you can ensure that you're in the driver's seat of your healthcare journey. As many of you know, I got engaged last year, and my dad would not have been there for this joyous occasion had he not asked questions. That curiosity was the foundation for the self-advocacy that allowed him to be there with us that day. Questions literally saved his life. How may questions help you or someone you love in the future? Thank you.